This is not your mother's Mahabharata. Beware. It's fucking epic. Hosted by SP Jayaraj.
Welcome to Not Your Mother's Mahabharata. I am Satish, aka SP Jayaraj. With me as always is my wife, Azure Anderson-Jayaraj.
Hello, Azure Anderson-Jayaraj here.
Our guest today is Kate Shuknecht. Hi, Kate.
Hello.
Glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Kate. How do we know each other?
I am a writer and creative and mostly write poetry. Satish and I met at Hamlin getting our MFAs together in creative writing.
Yeah.
And I met Azure at one of Satish's readings.
Mm-hmm.
That was super fun.
I think it was one, and you were the one. You were leading too.
I was.
Yeah, you were performing.
And
Yeah.
it was my birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a
You
very
sing.
fun night,
Yeah.
and I sang.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went out afterwards, and it was like super fun.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
was a very memorable occasion.
We had tater tots.
Yep.
Yeah, there were tater tots
Yep.
involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah. That's how we know each other.
Yeah. And then you were the unofficial officiant to our wedding.
That's
as
right.
well.
Yes.
So.
We have many connections.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
We go way back.
Mm-hmm. And
Your
we've talked.
poetry is on our wall.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked before about my obsession with mythology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got some books from you. Not by you, but I've got some books from your
From my
shelf,
library.
from your library.
Yes. Yes.
You know, on Celtic mythology, which I'm excited to get through.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to tell you some of the story of the Mahabharata today.
I am really excited because I'll be honest, I don't know anything about it. So,
Okay.
And I purposely did no research because I was like, this will be more fun and exciting if I can learn this way. Because
Mhm.
isn't that
Yeah.
part of why stories are so awesome
Yes.
and
Yeah.
interactive and conversational?
That's the
and
whole point of
This
it.
is what our ancestors have done forever.
Forever.
This is
Exactly.
tell each other stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it.
And
I
it's
don't
that-
think that I know anything more. I don't know anything
Yeah.
anything more at all. I know what has been said already.
Okay.
But that's it.
Cool.
So I don't read ahead either, don't worry.
All right.
I think we'll get to parts in this story today where it kind of splinters in different directions too, where, because this is an oral tradition story, so the idea is that, so I'll tell you the basis of this story, because it helps us here. There was a sage, so a very wise man who had a story to tell, and he calls upon Ganesha, the god Ganesha, elephant-headed god, and the two of them kind of strike a deal that Vyasa will continue to tell the story, and Ganesha will write it. Vyasa can't stop telling the story, but as a counter deal that Vyasa made with Ganesha, Ganesha has to understand everything that he's writing down. So in that sense, it kind of slowed down that conversation a little bit, which gave Vyasa time to gather his thoughts a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, the big thing here is that I want you to understand the story. And
Is it one long story or is
It
it,
is
multiple?
motherfucking gigantic story.
Awesome. Okay.
So, yeah, it's... And I've mentioned this comparison before, but in reports I've read, it's Odyssey and the Iliad combined, multiplied by, it depends who you ask.
Okay.
You know, I've seen between
Cool.
7
Yeah.
and 10. And there have been other versions of the story that happened 1,500 years after the original, I do a quotation marks. My bias through all this, because the big thing is that it is tied to religion in the sense that within this story, much later on than where we are now, there's the Bhagavad Gita, which is, of course, the Hindu holy text, and that is part of this massive story.
Okay.
So my bias to this is simply as a storyteller. So that's my kind of loyalty to it. That's my excitement for it. I read it, and much later than kind of... I read it during the pandemic, and then have been kind of kept going back to it, read different versions. I'm like, okay, let's tell this story. And so I'm excited to kind of have this. This is my opportunity to tell the story to friends.
Are there a lot of different versions?
So the story itself is said to be like between 3,000 to 1,500 years old. Within, and let's say it started in like one spot in India. As the story kind of got told and spread, other versions came out. It went through East Asia as well. And so I find in like the books that I have that have little like notes and talk about it, that they definitely went through some changes within the East Asian traditions, and then also within India itself there are some differences. So as far as like a canonical one, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some basics that kind of stick. And I think like you would
Some
find
key things that are like always there or
Yeah.
more often there.
Yeah, and so one thing we'll get to today is as far as like which is the better and the... See, there are things that happen in the original version that don't have that... people have added on aspects in later versions. And... But the things that they add are, as storytellers, as fiction tellers, are where they're kind of going back. It's like, why was this person this way? There's a little bit of disbelief in a certain person's angle. And so new stories have come from that.
Okay.
So let's...
Which is interesting in and of itself because that's the, like, we just can't help ourselves, right? Like we cannot help ourselves from like asking questions, and like stories evolve
And they should.
and they should.
we are
It's just like
story-
language evolves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are storytelling beings.
And it doesn't diminish earlier versions. It just
No.
is
No.
it's I mean, all of those versions are still there too.
Yeah, and I think like one of the interesting things that I'm learning about Hinduism is how this is a religion that changes. It's been around for so long. It's tied to all these other, this great wealth of stories, which the Mahabharata is a huge part of that, but there are even others like around it. And if Hinduism is just the belief in these stories vary. These stories have
They
changed.
have to because
Yeah.
I mean religions fail when they don't adapt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get into some examples of
Yes,
that.
we
Good.
could. That's
But that might be a different podcast.
or we'll
Let's-
just save it for
We'll
later.
see.
We can save
Yeah.
it for a special
Yeah.
special release. Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, just, like
Let's
we've
talk
covered
religion
something.
with Kate.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of bring us a little into speed to where we are at this point from like the last podcast. Again, as you know, this you as well. Like, yeah, ask questions, chat. We're just going to tell a story together,
Love it.
essentially. So one of the main characters we're looking at is a dude named Bheeshma. So this is all following like one.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He's already
Azure
been
has-
through some shit. Huh?
Bheeshma's been through some shit. Yeah.
Oh man.
Let's
can't wait to
let's
see
check
what
in on
happens
him.
Yeah. Let's check in on
Let's check in
Bheeshma.
on Bheeshma.
So this is following like one line of kings, descendant from the King Bharata. And so Bheeshma is a person who, his mother is actually a river goddess. His father was the king Shantanu. He spent his first 16?
You said 16.
16.
years.
This is awesome. He spent the first 16 years with his mother living in the woods and the jungle. He had great sages himself and gods teaching him everything from being a fighter to being a government and politics and kingship. He then spent the rest. He then went and lived with his father, and later his father met a woman by the Yamuna River that he fell in love with. The problem was that this woman, whose name was Satyavati's father forbid Shantanu from marrying her until he promised that kids from this line would be king.
It's always complicated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can't ever just fall in love and have
No.
it be easy.
No.
So Bheeshma, what he is most known for, what his primal thing is in this story, is that Bheeshma went to this fisherman and said, fine, I will not have children myself and I will not try for the throne in any way. And then he went ahead and he announced that to the gods, and that is his thing. He actually, in the last kind of section, he did meet someone, kind of fell in love, but nope, not happening. I made a promise that it's going to be Satyavati's kids with my father Shantanu. They are the ones that'll follow the bloodline. So Bhishma made this vow. His father has since passed away happily. And Satyavati had 2 kids, one of which has already died, sadly. And now she has just one more child, whose name is Vichitravirya. And Bhishma actually, when he got 2 wives who were sisters for Vichitravirya, who is Ambika and Ambalika. Very similar names.
This feels very biblical, like Old Testament
it
to
is.
me. Like the getting the lineage right. It's like I almost need to like see a family tree.
The lineage
There's
is...
a lot of
It
names
is.
and
It's-
like connections.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
And it's
The
tricky
story
because...
Yeah, right.
The
No,
story
yeah.
helps. Yeah.
It always does, right? Like
Yeah.
that's why stories are powerful.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
that's how we remember things, how
And
we like feel connected to things.
One thing that
Exactly.
we covered in in another story, like much earlier on in this bloodline, is that when a wife is married to someone, if the kid she has, it doesn't matter if that kid is like with another dude, that kid is considered the son of whoever she's
Whoever
married
she's currently married to.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's interesting in this storyline. It's like, oh, a lot of these bloodlines are actually not bloodlines. It follows this new thing, and so as far as like actual relationships between some of the later characters and their ancestors, like there's no actual blood relationship.
That's cool.
I find that like really fascinating.
That feels very like spiritually progressive, really. Like more like chosen family.
And I was thinking that Jerry Springer would be out of business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You got the spiritual
Yeah.
side. I
Yeah.
have the...
Yeah. Jay
Or
Springer's-
what was the other guy? What was the other guy that only did that after?
Is it Maury Povich?
Maury Povich.
Yeah.
You're the father.
Yeah.
You are not the father.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't matter.
Guess
Yeah.
what?
Guess
Yeah.
what? It doesn't matter
And
at
I'm
all.
fine.
This
So-
new guy is.
So Bhishma's the one who's raised these 2 kids. He raised this one who has died, and he's raising them, and he's always had this kind of like pressure with everything, like he needs to make sure the bloodline is going, and so that's why he got these 2 wives. Was really eager after the last son or like nephew died. So yeah, so the story starts with Bhishma as Bhithya, Satyavati also kind of doing her thing, and Vichitravirya.
Vichitravirya.
Yeah, say that 10 times fast.
Vichitravirya.
Is
I have to roll it.
Yep.
Vichitravirya.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I can cut this out later.
He's happy. He's happy spending time with his wives. Bhishma, although not king for a lot of this, has been the regent.
Okay.
So still waiting, and then basically waiting for the kids to kind of grow up. So while Vichitravirya is growing up, he's still learning from Bhishma all the things that he needs to learn to be a king, and also having a lot of fun with Ambika and Ambalika. Like until he kind of goes up, and then he's not got any kids yet. He'll have kids with them, and everything will go fine. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah,
So that's
of
where we
course.
start.
Oh,
What
cool.
could go wrong?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Why would you say it like that?
Dun dun dun.
Vichitravirya dies of a viral infection.
No!
Oh.
Wait. When? Like,
Just now.
Right, just now?
Just right now.
That's how.
When
Yeah.
did he go swimming with like a open wound or something? What happened?
I mean,
I don't know the details.
free antibiotics, you can like die from a splinter.
Up
So
the urethra?
one of those worms
The-
that goes
Yeah.
right up your.
Uh,
Yeah. No, thank you.
The
Sorry.
wives seem fine.
It's
So
probably
they're
like
okay?
yeah. So maybe not viral that way.
Okay, well, that's good.
But either way, yeah.
I mean, not.
He died
Ugh.
without having kids.
Oh, my God.
And so
It's all falling
now
apart.
Everything's over now.
everything again is falling apart. So
All that
everyone
work.
is sad. The wives, both Ambika and Ambalika, are very sad that their husbands has died.
They
Bhishma,
really liked him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, Bhishma
He's a
as
good
well,
guy.
who like raised this kid.
Yeah.
Second, another death, and then of course Satyavati, who, the mother.
Yeah.
And so, there's this period of mourning, and then Satyavati realizes that one of the things that just upsets her the most is that there's no bloodline. How do we continue the bloodline? Okay, Bhishma. She goes to Bhishma and explains to him that the bloodline has to continue. Your vow was very noble for, my late husband, and it was for my father who insisted on this, who's also since passed away.
Yeah.
This is out of context with everything happening now. Like, they didn't know any of this will happen now. We've got 2 beautiful girls right now, and as you can imagine, princesses, so exceptionally beautiful girls. And
they probably have all kinds of wealth to commend them to potential suitors because they're princesses.
Well, they're already in the family because they already married Vichitravirya.
Right. So they're in it.
They're also used to it, so yeah, they're also used to the wealth.
They're also very used to the wealth. Yeah, very much so. And so the way out of this is for basically the Bheeshma to have kids with either of these 2.
Yeah.
And everything is good. Bheeshma says, fuck no.
The vow.
He's not... He took this vow.
His honor.
Yeah. He took this vow before the gods, before heavens. And it was such a powerful vow that his dad at the time was able to bless him as well with this saying that he will only die when you are ready to die.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. A lot of pressure. And as Satyavati is kind of trying to convince him, like, they're really hot. Come on.
Just impregnate these women already.
Yeah.
For the kingdom.
Yeah, for the kingdom, for the line. Like, what happens
else.
after you pass? Right now you're ruling the kingdom right now, but you will one day pass, and then all of this ends.
I think
this
it's
was
easy for non-royal folks like us to just be like, ugh, gross obsession with this bloodline shit. But I do think they're... trying to see it from their perspective, I do think there is, like, real political concern that, like, if you don't have recognizable heirs, people will come for you.
Yeah.
And your kingdom will be at war.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your people will suffer.
Yep.
Your resources will dwindle. War is a motherfucker.
Yep.
Don't do that to your people.
Yep.
And so
there's a lot at stake.
It makes sense to me to, like, it's not trivial to worry about your heirs.
Yeah. We have that privilege.
We have a privilege of not being
royalty.
Right.
Yeah.
We can do what we want.
We get to choose our own mates.
Yeah.
Huzzah!
So...
Did you just wink at me?
Yes, sure.
Well, because you're me.
He just winked at me. Oh my
so
god.
Satyavati...
I am a little bit.
Satyavati says all of this that you just said to Bheeshma, and it
Sure.
causes Bheeshma to kind of think back and recognize his life.
Yeah.
Realize that was actually the sister of these 2 that he did kind of fall in love with, but and not in the literal sense, but really fucked over. Now she wants his head.
Yeah.
But that was someone he actually loved. He fought his guru in the last episode because his guru said, "Give up this fucking vow."
So everyone is pressuring him.
Yeah.
Like,
Everyone.
Dude, this is an outdated vow, and you're doing more damage
And it's
by
not
keeping
for
it.
anyone now.
The more
so it's
people are
only for
against
him.
him, the more he fights back, though.
So it's like his sense of honor and like a weird homage to a bunch of dead people.
Yeah.
But all the people who are alive and are going to be affected by his decision are like, dude, it's done.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's already done.
Exactly.
And the thing is, he is a good king.
Yeah.
Like, so he does care about his people. Otherwise, like, people
But he
were
is
very
just,
upset
like...
when he took this vow because they were like, they wanted him as the king.
Yeah.
In spite of all of this, like, Bheeshma, this is who I am. This is my identity. He doesn't care to explain like why he is so embedded in this vow, and there are clues maybe in a previous life that he's not completely familiar with. But, and we've seen this, like, he almost destroyed the world fighting his old guru, before giving up the vow.
Just because of this, like, adamant stubbornness to just do what he said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though the context
He
has changed.
feels, depending where you side on this, but he feels like this is within him not doing it. So...
Like, he feels like his honor would be impugned and he would not be the person that he wants to be if he
wouldn't be himself.
He will not be the person
who
he is.
And he would maybe not even be worthy of being king if he went back on his word.
Sure.
Or something
Maybe.
like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm reading into it. I'm like getting into his character.
No, it's good.
Yeah, like that's... He made
Because
this...
I'm trying to think, like, what reasoning he must have to be this intent on keeping something that doesn't fit.
Yeah, and for who? Like,
And
who's
for
it
who?
for?
Yeah. What's the real motivation here?
Yeah. So, him and Satyavati are, kind of at each other's throats. It's awkward. They don't hang out as much, and they're, avoiding each other. But Bheeshma does go to the woods, and he talks to the sages who live over there, the wise men, the rishis. And he does find something out. So he comes to Satyavati. He's like, well, I found out that there is an old tradition that we've forgotten. We have the two princesses, Ambika and Balika, who are married into the family. If we have a wise sage from the forest, who is, kind of practice. The sages in the forest are very revered people. They've kind of given things up, and from their lifestyles, a lot of it from their celibacy and their willpower, they are powerful beings. So, possibly because of that, there's the tradition that if one of them can come in, they can be the surrogate father, and all will be well.
That seems like a good solution.
So that seems like a good solution.
Possibility.
Yeah. And Satyavati's like, she's like, just fuck the kid.
She's like, why are you going to make this hard,
him,
bro?
But she's like...
He's not going to do it. He's just not going to do it.
He's
not going to do it.
Maybe he can't. And he's just covering.
Maybe
he just can't.
Maybe. There's all these ideas of what is the real story of the Mahabharata. And well, maybe that just...
Maybe dude just can't get it up.
Yeah.
Maybe it's possible.
Maybe he's a Ken doll down there.
Maybe he just is like, oh, shoot.
Maybe he's just really not into it.
Yeah.
Or that.
Or he's just really into his celibacy and gaining superpowers from it.
Yeah.
I
can see that. If I legitimately thought celibacy would give me superpowers, I might try it.
Sure.
We covered that in the first episode, and I will say that it is a subject that I'm like, this is an interesting thing to just chat about. So we'll see if we get to that, but I gotta get into these ones, into this story. So, Satyavati calls Bheeshma in later, and she has a bit of a secret to tell him, which we covered in our first episode, so Azure knows this. Satyavati, when she was a young kid, when she was, I don't want to say too young. Let's just say of mature age. But probably barely.
Of marrying age.
14.
We're thinking 14, 16.
Yeah.
That was our guess.
I mean, when your lifespan is less, it's a different scale.
Exactly.
She had, basically, she fucked a sage with incredible powers.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. After the fucking session, it gets better. It gets way better. After the fucking session, she has a kid immediately. Her tummy just grows. Whoop,
yeah,
whoop,
potent.
Kid's out.
That's how it works.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. In this case, probably not a universal experience.
Hello,
I
mother.
do not know.
Well, that's what came out.
Just pop out like a sage.
He popped out and grew into an old man.
Oh.
And
Hello,
grew into
mother.
another sage.
I am wise, I am a sage.
Went out to the woods.
I will see you later. That's what happened.
I will
he
see
grows up
you another
immediately,
time.
old man, older than his mother now, and is like, I gotta go be a sage and shit.
Okay.
I'll come back. And she's
like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Well, at least
see you later.
I guess
bye.
I don't have to raise you now, So.
But now there's a sage out in the woods that is her kid.
That is her
Yeah.
kid.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Oh.
So she calls upon the sage.
It always comes back around, doesn't it?
Oh, the Oedipus complex.
Yep.
She calls him, and he comes, calling. He comes because his mother calls, and that was the wish that he told her when he was born, and, I guess 10 seconds after
And
he was
immediately
born.
grew up.
And immediately grew up. He's like, I gotta go do sage stuff. If you need me, just give me a holler.
Yeah.
Give me a ring.
Yeah.
Here's my pager number.
I'm gonna be
And
in
he
the
whipped
woods
his
back
bullet
there.
back and he ran, clicked on his fanny pack and strolled through the forest with a quick walk, hips flailing. He's a fast walker.
Why not?
These are important details.
That's his
Yeah.
sage power. He's a fast walker. Sorry. His vision is amazing.
He does get there really fast after she summons him.
Oh, he's
So,
a speed walker.
He's a speed walker. So she calls him and she explains the situation to him and is like, these two young hot girls.
Ready for a siege.
I need some grandkids. And so this is Vyasa. This is also the person who we talked a little bit about earlier. Like, he's the one who wrote the Mahabharata. He was the one dictating it to Ganesha. So the idea is that this entire Mahabharata happens, and then after that, Vyasa then tells the story to Ganesha.
Yeah.
So he's also part of this story. But he's been, as his title, living in the woods, sage-like, very detached from society. Hasn't showered in quite a while.
There's a river for that.
So, kind of like dirt and mud is like caked to him. His hair is also matted.
Maybe not exactly presentable in a way that the princesses would.
No, he's a little bit filthy, and he knows it. And he tells his mom, was like, all right, so I'll come back a little late, like maybe.
Let me prepare.
I got a lot of this stuff to clean off, man.
So we need Oprah to do a makeover.
Yeah, we need to do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll come and see these, these, young, princesses who've had all their things in life.
Yeah.
And Satyavati's like, don't fucking worry about that shit.
She's like, I don't need that. I just need your sperm.
Just come tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come tomorrow.
Don't need to shave. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I will talk to Ambika, the older one, and she will know to welcome you, and it'll all be good. And and Vyasa's kind of like, yeah, but this is a lot of and Satyavati, whatever. Like, your father was like that too. I didn't give a shit.
Well, he's got all night to fix stuff. I mean, he's not coming till tomorrow.
He'll take that night to prepare in other ways. So he doesn't, clean. There's a lot to get rid of.
Spiritually prepare, and then he doesn't have time to take a bath.
And it's been a while.
Just go do it in the river. Spiritually prepare in the river.
Yeah.
That's your,
The implication of the story is that this is a lot of dirt caked on a lot of dirt.
Okay.
So he's just
matted.
I am envisioning it, and I love it. Let's do it.
I mean...
Yeah, so Satyavati goes and talks...
He's like the Green Man.
Like the Green Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
So, Satyavati goes and talks to Ambika as like, hey, this is what's happening. This is how we're going to continue the kingdom, continue the nation. You gotta... And I don't know if she tells him it's her son. I don't believe she necessarily does. But tells her that this is, he's going to come tonight. He's very powerful. He's very gentle. He looks a little fierce, though. But,
a little wild.
Yeah. And so, Satyavati goes on her way, and Ambika's kind of, what is happening?
Like, this is kind of sudden.
Who is this guy?
Who is this dude?
Yeah.
Could be romantic, though. She could bathe him and reveal the beauty under the beast. Could be real hot. Never mind.
Candlelight.
I mean,
Rose
I think
petals.
that's what they have. I don't think there's electricity yet.
So, Vyasa
Sorry.
comes home. Or comes home.
Scene.
Yeah. You're very wrong, though.
Oh.
Vyasa comes,
Dang it.
and Ambika's just freaked out.
Like, who are you?
Like,
And
who
no
are
way.
you? What are you?
Oh, no.
This is gross.
Oh.
And just kind of just proceeds, but she knows this is something that has to be done, and she proceeds, and she just shuts her eyes. She can't, and she keeps her eyes completely shut.
Okay.
And so, Vyasa, this is what they're here to do. He's gentle with her, but the whole time that they are fucking, this powerful man with magical semen, she doesn't open her eyes at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, once that business is over, Vyasa goes immediately to report to his mother.
Yep. Well, did the deed.
Yep.
I did it.
Goes to talk to Mom.
Where's the other princess?
Yep.
Ready for another go?
Yeah, goes to talk to Satyavati, and Satyavati, so how'd it go? And, well, there was a problem. She didn't open her eyes at all. So, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a defect. He's probably going to be very strong. And she's like, wait, what's going to happen? He's going to be born blind.
Aww.
Maybe could have told her that while they were fucking, and maybe she would have like been like, oh, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
It
true.
might have changed things. Just saying.
Yeah. Even if it was like halfway through, then maybe like he'd only have lost one eye. You know?
Right. Like, hey.
Clearly, I
so
don't know
you
exactly
wanna
how this
have,
works.
Like a blind future king.
Yeah.
Maybe
just
open your
picturing
eyes.
the whole thing now, and it's like,
Kinda
See, that's
sad.
more than what she did.
Kind of sad,
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like it if I was him
right?
Mm-hmm.
or
No,
her.
he did not enjoy this.
But like,
He wouldn't, he did what he
why
had to do
couldn't you
for his
wait
mother.
a day? Just let him take a bath.
Mm-hmm.
He would have felt more comfortable. She would have felt more comfortable. Their child wouldn't be blind.
Yeah.
But
What's
And
a day?
where
it's
would
gonna
the story go?
I'm going to say it takes more than a day for him to clean himself up. I don't know how
what?
long.
Okay, 3 days.
Maybe she
Yeah.
was. Maybe this was like her ovulation window, and they
Maybe.
just
No,
needed
yeah.
that baby.
Yeah, they were really good at that. So
Yeah, otherwise, if
Yeah,
they
you're
waited
right.
for that to happen, they may have died because that's what's been happening in the family.
I know everybody dies all the time. Like
Yeah.
you can't wait. You
Fine.
can't wait another month to like ovulate again.
Yeah.
Because
I
like,
guess.
what if you get another toe infection or something and just die?
Our guest, Kate Shuknecht, wanted us to let you know about Safe Hands Rescue. Safe Hands Rescue is a nonprofit based in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area. Their mission is to save and improve the lives of companion animals by engaging communities and connecting people, resources, and knowledge. Their work focuses on rescuing and rehoming dogs from overcrowded, high-intake, low-adoption shelters where there is otherwise little hope. They also work to solve the homeless pet population where it starts. Kate and her family adopted their lovely dog Jupiter through Safe Hands Rescue and feel very blessed to have him in their lives. If you are also in the Twin Cities metro area looking to adopt your own pet or just want to support a good organization that works to bring animals and people together to create families, visit safehandsrescue.org. That is SAFEHANDSRESCUE.org. Now back to the show.
You're not wrong.
No, you're not. So Satyavati's...
wrong.
Good point.
Yeah.
I know.
So Satyavati's like, well, these
That is
spoiled
like
princesses.
suboptimal.
Yeah, suboptimal. Like
Yeah.
a blind king is going to be problematic for ruling, obviously. She's like, all right, well, I'm going to go talk to this woman. But tomorrow, same thing with Ambelika. I'm going to go warn her. And so she goes and talks to Ambelika, says same thing. This dude's going to come. He's kind of old. He's the rishi.
Keep your eyes open.
Keep your eyes open.
For the love of God. Look
Keep-
away if you need to.
Yeah.
But keep your damn eyes open.
Keep your eyes open.
Shut
And
the
she
lights off.
instills that into Ambelika. Like, keep your eyes
No,
open.
it's gonna go too far.
Something
now.
else.
Now it's gonna go too far.
Now they're gonna
bullet-
have like a laser eye king.
Oh god, that's pretty
Super-
cool though.
Super eyes.
That's pretty cool. Or they're open all the time,
Fascinating.
and that's disturbing.
And impossible. You know, your eyes dry out in like a minute if you try not to blink.
Gonna have those bug eyes
Mm-hmm.
that pop
These
out.
are all good theories.
Yeah.
Ambelika's actually a little excited.
Right
She's like,
on.
ooh, I
Cool.
That's my girl.
get to fuck another dude. You know,
Yeah,
like I
a
miss the
cool,
king,
hot
but
hippie woodsman.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, like
up.
a dude with like Merlin-like powers, just from like
Powerful.
Just like Daddy.
Kind of looks like a tree, maybe.
yeah.
Kind of like Daddy.
kind of like daddy. So
There you go.
There's something to that.
There is.
well, father-in-law daddy, but yes, she's excited.
Still.
She's like, all right, I got
this.
this.
I like this angle. I want her to want it.
Yeah. So Vyasa comes
It's supposed to be
and
fun.
I don't want it.
Ambelika's eyes go wide, and she's like, "Oh, I was not ready for this.
Uh-huh.
I thought I was ready for this. You're fucking fierce looking." So she kind of goes white,
Oh, okay.
and her
Her
eyes
are
just
open.
her eyes are open. Her eyes are open throughout the night.
Yeah.
They never close.
No.
And she's gone just pale in comparison
She's
because of
stricken.
this. She's stricken.
Oh, no.
So not
Jeez, these delicate princesses and their
Seriously.
sensibilities.
Yes.
Good lord.
I don't understand what their problems are. Were they not in their 20s?
They are just.
They probably weren't in their 20s.
Oh,
They're probably very
that's
young
why.
And they
still.
were kept in a cloistered bubble.
20s are when you experiment
never-
with forced people, so you know, not before that.
Some people go to college, some people go to the woods.
Not before, yeah.
Some people do both.
Some people do both.
So
It's too bad.
yeah, so this very different night, still not maybe Vyasa's like happiest, let's say, but you know,
Everybody's
he did the
doing
deed.
their duty.
She
Gets immediately pregnant again. Like
so
her
these ones
sister.
aren't getting immediately pregnant.
Oh, they
This
aren't.
was the last. This was
Okay.
the mother who got immediately pregnant.
Okay,
with
so
both.
he's not maybe as powerful as Sage as to immediately impregnate them.
There was other magic going on with Satyavati's
Okay.
bloodline
Okay.
as well, going on with that.
Got
To
it.
listen to it.
Yep.
Yeah. And that sage was like part of courting her. It's like he made all these spells to make this happen.
Got it.
So and again, once again goes and reports to his mother, and his mother's like, "How'd it go?" Well, there was a problem. She's like, "What the fuck,
What
man?
now?
Like, what did this spoiled
Like,
princess
why are
do?"
all these people not knowing how to fuck properly?
Yeah,
Oh God.
yeah.
Like-
She grew up in. She grew up in. She was a river girl. She grew up in the woods. This doesn't bother her. So there is definitely a
like that, yeah, so
huge
it's-
disconnect.
Yeah.
She was so used to these dirty sages just
Yeah.
coming over, and I mean, she liked it.
Oh, she very much did.
Yeah. Continue.
So, this child is going to be born an albino
Oh,
Because she was so pale.
because she was so pale
that's
throughout
not so
the
bad.
experience. So, Satyavati's like, son of a bitch. Alright. Go on your way. I'm going to call you back in 9 months. And we're going to go with Ambika again. And she'll have had a child by this point. She'll be a mother. Let's hope she's mature enough to not
She's
close
already
her eyes.
met you. You'll have 9 months to bathe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
take a little bath.
A little
Snippity snip the beard a bit.
Yeah. Something.
No problem.
Mm-hmm. So, Vyasa goes on his way.
Brush your teeth.
Lots of time to do this differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
On both sides.
I don't think he cleaned himself that much.
Come on, dude.
All right, he's got to try a little harder.
You would think.
Why?
I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe it's part of that lifestyle, of the ascetic
I
lifestyle.
don't care. It'll
Yeah.
come
No.
back real fast. It's just for one night.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just feels, like,
It wouldn't
again,
be
maybe
him.
it's an identity issue of, like, I'm going to be true to myself, and anybody who's with
Yeah.
me needs to just
Deal.
be with me.
He went on to write the
He's
Mahabharata
sorry.
afterwards.
Yeah, so he's
he
not-
did,
he's doing
you
all
know?
right.
Did he look like that when he wrote it? That's not how I pictured him. It's
I
not
mean,
that
I
it
have no
matters,
idea.
but
Yeah.
I feel like he cleaned himself up for Ganesh.
For Ganesha, yeah, very possible.
Yeah,
and he
for
saw
God-
like
for
another
a
god
god, for
before
sure.
that. So
Yeah, I feel like he would have
So
cleaned
maybe he
himself up.
cleaned
Then he
himself
covered
up for
himself
that.
with
older,
rose
and,
water
like,
and
in a
stuff.
different phase of his life,
I
you know.
guess.
Like, if he's young and impulsive and, like, just fully digging into the sage life, like, he just wants to be that, like,
Mhm.
muddy hippie guy in the woods.
yeah, who wouldn't want to be the muddy hippie guy in the woods?
Sounds
With
awesome.
I would
magic
love it.
powers.
All right.
Sounds awesome.
So he comes back.
9 months later, comes back.
The two kids have been born. So one kid, Dhritarashtra, has been born. He is the blind one, although as strong as a lion. And then Pandu is born, who is an albino, but no other defects.
I mean, as
That's
royal
alright.
kids, I feel like they're probably in like the best possible place to like. Okay,
They're in the
you're
best possible place.
You're blind, but like you got like a bunch of people to
Yeah.
help you get the lay of the land. You like
Yeah.
probably live in a posh castle, so you're probably fine.
But it also comes down to the bloodline, and like, can we have a blind king? Can we have an albino king? You know, how is that
I mean,
going
will
to
their
be
kids
viewed?
be-
Will there be threats because
Yeah.
of
Would it be
this?
passed
Like,
on
will,
to-
like, will people think that you're so different that you can't be
Or
an effective ruler?
Weak, right? Like the blindness
Yeah.
and the albino-ness is
Yeah.
like, it's a
Seen
huge
As
weakness.
a
Like,
weakness. Seen
perception
as
is a big
difference.
deal.
Yeah, difference is not like an accepted good. It's like automatically
Yeah.
something to be worried about.
Yeah.
So, and Satyavati definitely is worried about this, partly because, you know, her last two kids have died. Now these grandkids, each of them with a defect.
Yeah.
I need one more. We need one more. Come back. So,
Yeah.
So Vyasa comes back and is like, all right, I'll go with Ambika again. Let's hope she's grown.
Tell her to meditate a little before.
Yeah.
Take
Maybe
some deep breaths.
Set the mood a little bit.
Learn how
Brush
to
your teeth.
blink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Vyasa comes to her apartment, probably not hoping for much at this stage, but there is a change. So Ambika's kind of wearing like sexy clothes.
Well,
She's got a veil on, and she takes his hand
Okay.
and takes him to the bed.
All right.
All right.
And Vyasa's like a little taken by this big mighty sage.
Yeah, I think it's not what he was expecting.
Yeah. Beforehand, he did most of the work.
Yeah.
In this
She's
case,
got a veil on, though. Is it her?
It's a
Dun dun dun.
you
It's
got
not
it.
her.
It's not her.
Oh God, is it the mother?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
because I'm
you
like,
spoiled.
sorry.
Oh.
So
Wait, does he know though?
Not yet.
not at this point.
Okay.
I'm not sure when during the fucking he finds out or figures it out.
Because she's so changed and there's a veil, it just
Yeah.
had to be someone else.
And he's also a little different from the last two times. He's enjoying this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one wants him.
Oh.
Good.
So he
For him.
starts being like taken by her as well.
Yeah.
So he's into this.
Great.
Next day,
They're rolling around. Chunks of mud just start falling off. His pecs are like out,
Kinda dusty.
and the dust goes, and it
just, like,
shoots off of
cracking.
his nipples. And it's just like all the motion. And when they're done,
All the
they're
sweat
both
just
covered in
cleanses.
sweat and light mud.
Yeah.
But she sees how handsome he is
Underneath.
underneath.
And her veil comes off.
And
Mm-hmm.
her veil comes off.
Yep.
And
Well, she leaves the next day.
oh wait, okay. So
And,
he
you
doesn't
know.
know still.
He's kind of lying around and enjoying the sensation.
Yeah, he's just like
He's basically-
his mind is blown.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
just like,
This
I
is-
don't need to see your face. I'm just enjoying
Yeah.
the like aftermath.
Okay.
Of
As
this
far as
ecstasy.
the
He's in the afterglow.
and he has no reason to suspect.
Sure.
he's in the afterglow.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just like I really had sex this time. This is what
This
it's
is
like.
what was supposed to
This
be.
is what I've not been doing for most of my life for these just magic powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Satyavati comes to him, like opens the door, sees him, like I don't know, smoking a cigarette and being
Yeah.
very happy.
Yeah. Blissed
Smoking
out.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I how'd it go?" And he was like, "Oh, well, it was fucking fantastic."
Yeah.
Well, Mom, I had the
Let
best
me tell you.
sex of my
Yeah,
life.
it was.
Can't wait to tell my mom about it.
Yeah, Evie, just call your mums.
Uh,
And like any problems, any defects, like they're gonna be an issue. And he was like, "No, it went swimmingly." So, yeah.
pun intended.
Pun intended. Absolutely. There is one thing though,
Oh.
and she's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Yeah, it wasn't Ambika. It was her maid.
He knew.
Oh shit.
He knew or she knew?
He knew.
He knew. He
Yeah.
was telling her that. Okay.
And when he
yeah,
like
'cause
found
of course
out,
he could tell, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, he's a mighty sage. This was very different from
yeah.
the last time.
Yeah.
So again, at what point
He also has eyes.
knows
He might be
through
lust
the
driven, but
process.
he's not a dummy.
Yeah.
So he tells her that, and it was the maid. So like, there's no
Good for
bloodline
her.
aspect.
Oh man.
You know?
Unless they like adopt the baby, though, right? But
Doesn't
it has
work.
to be. It doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah, because it had to happen from Ambika and Ambalika because they were the ones married into the family.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's not,
It's not
he's not
legitimate.
part of the family. Like,
Yeah.
as far as his relationship with Satyavati, it had to be through those two.
Yeah.
So Satyavati's like, fuck.
My God.
All right, same thing. Tomorrow we'll try with Ambalika again. And Vyasa's like, I'm done. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
like,
like,
I
I am.
Deal with any more
I am a
of this.
brahmacharya. I'm meant to be celibate to be who I am. I got this epic to write after all this shit goes down. Like, I'm not going to be
I
able to do
just
that.
made
Done.
3 babies.
Yeah, I just
made
made 3.
babies. I
That's-
had the best sex ever. I'm not gonna ruin my record.
Yeah, if this happens again, if I start enjoying this, I'm done with this whole,
Yeah.
sage thing, and I really like that. So he fucking skedaddles and he's done.
I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
That's called boundaries.
He
Proud of him.
Yes, but also he came through for his mother.
Yeah.
But also stood up for himself.
Proud.
He's very well rounded.
I like that.
Yeah.
Self-advocacy is important.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
So, yeah, he heads on his way. They're done, and that was that. So that this generation now have the three kids. They have Dhritarashtra, who is blind.
Uh-huh.
Pandu, who is an albino. Vidura, who is perfect and wise and intelligent and smart.
But is not legitimate.
And is not legitimate. And is supposedly,
I hate
by
that
some
word.
traditions, and by some traditions, he is even an incarnation of another god who is the god of Dharma, which is in my mind like destiny and also death.
Interesting.
An incarnation of that, very wise, very smart, very intelligent motherfucker.
All
And
from a
advisor.
maid.
Yeah.
Of course.
A sexy maid.
Obviously.
Yeah. So.
And cool, accepting maid.
Oh, yeah, we love her.
I love her.
And
Does she have a name? Does she even get in?
I don't recall a name, but I do. The text I've read, like that's kind of like it's not like she and Vyasa get together again. Or that's they've done their things. And
She's not
She's
a key
the
player.
mystery woman.
Yeah.
That's really hot. That's really
Yeah.
hot. He's gonna tell that story for years.
Yeah.
To all his
I think
saint
he
buddies.
did.
Yeah, and he's just gonna relive it. And
Yeah.
feel really good about
The
it.
whole Mahabharata is actually just so he could say this is for this one night.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
super epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do I
Bang
sell this
night.
big epic night? I'm like, oh, I better create this giant epic tonight
Yeah.
to promote it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've now got the three kids. So, and they grow up, and this is where we start to see closer to, like, the bloodlines now that we will follow for the rest of this giant epic. So Dhritarashtra, blind. Now Bhishma, again raising the kids. Dhritarashtra becomes... Originally he does become king, but there is this understanding that he just cannot continue to be king because of the blindness. Pandu... Dhritarashtra also, like, super strong, so that helps him out. Pandu is an exceptional archer, and he becomes the Senapati, which is the general of the armies.
Cool.
And with all this, like, bad things that have been happening in the family, the nations have suffered a bit. Bhishma having to take care of these kids and all these other things going on. And so Pandu actually, as the general of the army, he goes out and is able to expand the kingdom. Presumably, in my mind, also like kind of sort out any issues within the kingdom already, but then also to expand it and do what is, what like the great grandfather did to make this nation what it is. So Pandu kind of goes out and does that, and then Dhritarashtra ruling in the stead. Now it's time to get these two married off.
Right. Keep that bloodline
Good
going.
luck.
They
Yeah.
need to have kids.
So
Because bloodlines.
Because bloodlines.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little about Ghandari.
Ghandari.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this is a woman, and so Ghandari apparently just means woman from Gandhar.
Okay.
Which I have this was an interesting story for me to like look and decide which version of this do I tell.
Yeah. That's interesting. I would love to have a separate conversation about that with you, about like the choices you've had to make
Yeah.
coming to this podcast to think
Mhm.
about like which parts of which story, which versions,
Yeah. I think we'll have it
and
now.
how you make those
Yeah.
decisions. That's cool.
We will
That's
have
cool.
a little bit now. So here's the Ghandari in one version of the text is this. Ghandari has been chosen to marry Dhritarashtra,
Okay.
and she, before even entering the kingdom, in acceptance, in compliance, in that this is her husband, she covers her own eyes
Oh.
with a silk mask, basically.
Like a solidarity thing.
Like a solidarity thing,
That's
and
cool.
is then...
Kind of. Yes.
I like both those responses. So the it's cool response is definitely the one that they say is maybe the older one.
Okay.
That this is why she did this. The kind of response that you had is the one questioned later, and people have tried to kind of figure out why would she do this? And there are other aspects
So interesting.
of this, of two blind parents and the kids they have, who turn out not fantastic.
Because they're both blind.
Because their parents are blind, and so, and she was willingly blind. And so the other idea of this is that some people believe that the story of Ghandari is more complicated. one thing about Ghandari, though, is that she is a Shiva Bhakti, which means she worships Shiva. The great god, creator, and destroyer Shiva has since presumably her whole life. So it becomes known that when she has kids, she is going to have 100 kids.
Oh, shit. No, thank you.
Nope.
I have 2 kids, and that's plenty.
But you don't have like a royal court to take care of them all.
That's true. If
But
I had
math.
a royal court,
Yeah.
maybe.
Math?
But also, like,
It takes a village just as a
like
whole nation.
a lot of quintuplets.
How math-wise, how does that work?
That's the
Magic.
That's the
like
magic.
that's what's been told.
Okay.
And so this, of course, Bheeshma's like, we need that one.
Well,
You know,
She's
I
the
mean,
one
the
for us.
The bloodline will be set if you have 100.
if we have
kids.
100
Surely a
kids.
couple of them will be totally fine.
Yep.
If you have
Yeah.
100. That's good
So-
odds.
So Bheeshma goes like, and he like petitions the father. Bheeshma is also this fierce individual.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like he's
Persuasive,
He's done
strong.
amazing things in the past. Like one of the first things he did as a teen was he blocked up the entire Ganges River with a bunch of arrows.
Cool.
Just shot a shit ton of arrows
And then
and
he
blocked the
So
surfed
Ganges.
he
through
has,
it.
so he has like he's like known to be this like powerful kind of weird epic figure that people are like, oh yeah, listen to this guy,
Mm-hmm. And
Cool.
very powerful.
right?
Yeah.
And as a result,
So his
very
presence
influential.
alone is like influential. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So he goes to the father, Subalu? Yeah, Subalu or Subala. Let's go with Subalu.
I just want to say for our listeners who cannot know what's like visually happening here that Satish is telling this whole story from the most spare set of tiny notes that I've ever seen. It's really impressing me. It's like 2 tiny pieces of paper that are mostly just names.
Yep, it's all names.
Because it's all in your head and your heart. And I think that's really beautiful.
Thank you. This is how, to me, the story has been to be told.
I agree. And I think it's really
Yeah,
cool. And I
thank
think,
you.
like, I don't want anyone to think that you're, like,
Just reading
it from
Yeah.
this huge book or this notebook. Like, you have 2 tiny, like, ripped out of a notebook pieces of paper that are, like, the size of a wallet.
Yep.
And all that's on there is, like, maybe, like, 12 names. And all of this is just in your beautiful brain. So...
And if he stumbles over a name, it's because it's handwriting.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can't read your own handwriting.
It's not the names. It's the handwriting.
It's the handwriting.
Well, thank you for saying how
No, for
how
sure, 'cause
wonderful
I
that
think
is.
that's really cool.
Thanks.
And I think that's, like, intentional, like you
Yeah.
said.
I want to tell the story.
Yeah.
It's about to get fucking ugly. Hello, dear listeners. I wanted to tell you about my business, Imagination Life Coaching. Through Imagination Life Coaching, I work one-on-one with clients to help you achieve your life goals. I'm someone who believes that we human beings have incredible minds, but sometimes life, stress, and our internal negative chatter can turn our minds against us and pull us away from reaching our potential. But we have the ability to reverse this and go way beyond. Through Imagination Life Coaching, I help you imagine new possibilities for yourself, create new systems and ways of thinking, and commit to healthy habits that help you take ownership of your mind so you can achieve any dream you set your mind to. If you are a creative artist, I can help you delve deeper into your creative action. Visit my website, spjayraj.com, that is spjayraj.com, to schedule your first free consultation. All right, back to the show. So Bheeshma goes up to Ghandari's father and puts on some pressure. And there's a little resistance that he doesn't kind of fully want to explain because it is Bheeshma. That he gives in. And so it's so Ghandari and then her younger brother Shakuni go to the kingdom. And Shakuni's kind of not really happy about this. He's not happy about his sister marrying a blind person.
Sure. Protective brother.
Very protective
Sure.
brother. And
He's going with her, like, I got your back. I'm
he was
not
he
gonna
was
let
sent
you go
with
alone.
her. Yeah. And like he remembers times when Ghandari was young and she was afraid of the dark. That they kept, and because she's a princess, though, fortunately, like all the nations kept their lights on.
Wow.
So Shakuni kind of thinks on
That's why they
that.
went bankrupt. No, just kidding.
That's why they lost all their fuel.
That's why they lost all their fuel.
Ghandari has also 100 other brothers too.
Okay.
And this is where it's kind of interesting because I haven't seen any other mention. Like I looked and I searched online, I looked in the texts I have. Aside from mentioning that she has these other 100 brothers, like there's no real story with them except for this one thing. And that this is the one that's not always told. So it's discovered that Ghandari, when she was born, through when they did horoscope stuff, they found out that her first husband will live a very short life.
Oh.
And so the day before this, her father gets Ghandari married to a goat.
Oh,
That's clever.
adorable.
Clever shit.
And
And then
then
you just kill that goat.
they kill the goat.
Prophecy deleted.
Fulfilled.
Done.
Or, yeah,
Yep.
fulfilled.
Yeah.
Everything's going to
Yep,
be good.
Move along to your second husband who will presumably live a lot longer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except Bheeshma finds out.
About the goat.
He finds out about the goat.
And he's all like, but honor
There's all these issues.
She's married a goat.
Yeah.
doesn't count.
She
it's
is.
a goat.
She's the widow of a goat now.
Oh my
Come
god.
on, guy, let it go.
You know, I'm
It was
gonna
a
marry her off, and then,
It was a clever end around. Just let it be.
but then also the risk factor. Like he didn't tell him. Like, what if what if the goat marriage was illegitimate? You would have cursed my other, like the only other
who
person in the
married them
bloodline.
and, like, yeah.
And there's all these arguments now happening
Did
between
they-
Bheeshma and the king, and the 100 sons,
Ay, ay, ay.
and back and forth. A lot of fucking rage. A lot of lovely testosterone.
Yep.
You know, a lot of pent up energy. Seeing as like half these
Yep.
guys haven't fucking fucked in
Oh my
years.
god, right?
So much.
Like,
So much.
Bheeshma imprisons all the brothers and the father.
oh goddamn.
Come on, Bheeshma. Oh.
I would call that an overreaction.
You call that an overreaction?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
now
Now you're
what?
seeing why. Like this is the story that some people don't believe in and don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
But Bheeshma imprisons these 100 and gives them.
And the goat? Oh, the goat's dead.
The
The
goat's
goat's
dead.
dead. No, but he does give them
The
food.
goat is like the only one who wins.
The food is the goat?
The food is not the goat. I believe the food was grains of rice.
Okay.
And let's say, with me telling the story, each of them got a grain of rice. So, what the fuck?
What's he trying to prove?
Manhood, I
Yeah.
guess.
Fucking dick measuring.
So these 100 brothers and the king, they agree to not eat, and they give all their grains of rice to the youngest Shakuni.
Oh.
So
He
they all...
gets 100 grains of rice.
He gets 100 grains of rice, and he is the only one who survives.
Come on.
That is so unnecessary.
And so when, you know, I assume the chamber is open, Shakuni at this point swears allegiance to Bheeshma. He only has his sister left now.
Holy shit.
And
That's some Game of Thrones shit
swears
right
himself,
there.
yeah.
It's worse.
So this is the thing, like Shakuni
almost
in the
worse.
Mahabharata is this manipulative villain who kind of gets, like,
I mean,
makes
who
things
can blame
happen.
him? Trauma will fuck you up. Like
Yeah,
that.
Huh?
and that's where we're looking at, like, well, some people believe that, no, Shakuni was just a dick, and other people are like,
No.
well, maybe he had 100 brothers who died.
In the
Maybe
same
he
room as him.
watched them die.
Yeah.
Because they died because they fed him.
Mm-hmm.
And they
That
died in
one-
front of him. And they rotted in front of him while he waited for that cell door to be open.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I
his
would-
dad was in there too, the
Yeah.
king.
Yeah.
And dead too.
Oh, my.
And also dead.
Yes, of course. Yes,
Yeah,
of course
I
he
mean-
was dead.
That will
So-
pretty much turn anyone into
Yep.
a psychotic
Yeah, you're not going to
criminal.
be full of sunshine and rainbows after that.
No. So they get cremated, and then the dust that what makes them Shakuni collects. And
That's a
from
lot of dust.
that, it is a lot of dust. It's 100 people, right?
Yeah.
But Shakuni, from this dust, magic is able to grind it into 2 dice. And the dice that I have
Cool.
seen in images are like, they're not like cube dice, they're kind of
The
long.
like the long
Oh,
ones.
okay.
But he, into dice. These 2 dice of Shakunis later in this epic change the entire game.
I have seen the dice in like one of those shows that you watch.
Yeah.
That's where they came from. His 100 brothers, well, his 99 brothers and his dad.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's sad.
So Ghandari now is...
I hate Bheeshma. Bheeshma? I didn't mean
Bheeshma.
to. I didn't even say it right.
You're so
So
mad.
mad at
You're
him.
so mad.
Bheeshma.
Yeah.
That's your name now.
So Ghandari,
God.
to marry Dhritarashtra now, this idea that, well, was she devoted to him? So this version that I just told, the darker version, is that she did it in protest. And also, in my mind, fucking traumatized.
Yeah.
No. And if we look at the version that is without the 100 brothers, because again, like, I didn't see any other references of these 100, except for this, that some say this was written in later. But still, the idea that she's marrying this older person who is blind, that name that she has, even though, like, everyone has kind of a name that is basically, like, what they are.
Yeah.
Like, there's the god Krishna, which just literally means, like, the dark one. So there's that, and so I always need to kind of look into that sort of idea. But the fact that her name is just go from this place.
Yeah.
Like, how much, what's the word, agency did she have in her life?
Right.
And so there's the idea that she did that for several reasons. One, in protest to Bhishma's actions, in protest to this whole thing. But maybe, in my mind, just to fucking get away.
Yeah.
You know? And she is also still a Shiva Bhakti. She still worships Shiva.
Yeah.
And this act plays into that as well. So she had the boon of having 100 kids. Now, because of this, because she has willingly sacrificed this. And this is what separates her from like other mythological figures too. You know, we look at Odin, we look at Zeus, who... Zeus is also missing an eye? I don't remember. Do you guys know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Odin for sure missing an eye after he hangs on the tree.
I think so.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about...
I think so too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating about her in this story, is that this is willing. And it's not even like she burns out her eyes and they're done
No,
and
she
then that's
just
it.
covers them.
She
She
covers
just
them.
covers them.
Gently covers them. It's actually more... It's more interesting because it's a choice every minute of every day.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's a 1,000 million choices.
Like, has
Yeah.
she ever
'Cause she
cheated?
could-
Probably
Because
not.
if she gouged your eyes out, that's a one-time choice.
One time and
Yes.
you're done.
And you can never go back.
Yeah.
But this is a different thing.
Yeah,
It
this
is.
is a vow. And there is
Yeah.
this vow and this
Yeah.
willpower to do things that you've committed yourself to that gives you gifts and ability to, change the universe in some ways.
Yeah. I can see, this is not, like, there are so many examples across cultures of, like, these epic sacrifices that supposedly gain you epic powers.
Yeah. And the thing, again, hers is like, because it was the same with Odin, like he hung himself on Yggdrasil for, I think it was like 7 days. Or something like that, and that's where his wisdom came from, and where he lost an eye from that. And so there is absolutely that. But yeah, like, I'm intrigued by this idea that she is... But also, as we see kind of later in the story, like, she's blind. She has kids.
Yeah.
Who, like, as I mentioned, like, they don't turn out to be the best by some people's ideas. And so what was the result of that?
Right. I feel like they could have been like a power couple. You know what I mean? If she had sight, she could
Yeah.
help him rule the country.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Yeah.
powerful. He
He
was
already had, so many things that could have been, like, complementary.
right.
I can
He had
see-
probably the intelligence and everything to run the
Yeah.
country, and he could just
I
have
mean,
her
sure.
eyes
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like,
and then raise their kids.
being born blind is not, like, inherently a weakness. It's only a
Right.
perceived weakness from sighted
Right.
people. So, like,
Yeah.
his main challenge is just, like, overcoming what people assumed about him.
Right.
Which, if she had retained sight, could
Yeah.
have, like, really ameliorated that perception.
Agreed.
But she chose not to.
Yeah.
Under this guise of...
Solidarity.
Under the guise of solidarity. Under the truth of solidarity for some.
Okay.
I'm more inclined... So where I kind of fall into this is that it's these 100 brothers thing, and this that idea of like Shakuni's dice being made of his like brothers and his father is
it's
powerful.
chilling.
Yeah,
it's like
and
really
it's,
powerful.
in itself is a wonderful story. But I'm not ready to go like as far as like did Bheeshma kill like 100 of these people, especially when like there's no other mention, because as we'll kind of go on and see, Ghandari then does have her 100 kids, and I know that story. I have that story, which I'll tell. There's no story that I could find as to what's the story behind her having 100 brothers. I couldn't find that anywhere. So that's where it's like you add certain things, and they will add more depth. I think in some sense it did to focus a little bit more on like her motivations. And one of the things I like for me as a storyteller is like the later stories that add to this myth aren't false. You know, like one of my favorite examples is Batman, whereas like the first Batman stories, the dude's holding a gun, shooting people with his gun, and then later on, it's like it's kind of become part of the mythos that he hates guns. Wasn't the original, definitely wasn't the original,
right.
But now like that's become part of like the character where there's a gun in the story. There are psychological implications to do that harp upon Bruce Wayne when that happens.
Yeah.
So there are some elements of that. In defense of Bheeshma, at this point,
listening,
because I've really been playing with this idea of like, is this meant to be part of the story or not? I've read this a couple times. I'm like studying it properly this time, and I'll say like this time when I studied it and reading it, this is where I followed all my like notes and like did extra research. So the last two times I've read this, the last couple times I've read this whole Ghandari story was not there.
Really?
So when I first read the couple arcs, it was just that, I don't know, alright, she believed her husband, and Shakuni's just a dick. It's only in these recent, like, as I'm looking deeper this time, and that's what I'm fascinated
So are
about.
those newer versions then?
That's one of the theories, is that this was the version that came out like 1,500 years later.
As people were trying to, like, understand.
As people were trying to humanize the villains.
Sure.
I think that just, like, speaks to, like, a connection with the story of, like, trying to, like...
It adds
like,
the depth.
Yeah, like, it's
The
not just
human
this
depth.
cut and dry, like... I mean,
Yeah.
I talk about this with my 5-year-old all the time, like... You know, there's a difference between, like, stories in real life, and the most realistic stories are where characters are nuanced. Like, you know, in real life, it's not just good and bad.
Right.
There's, like, people are just people, and they make good and bad choices.
Yeah.
And, like, I really appreciate people bringing that kind of, like, thoughtfulness to the characters and thinking, like, maybe it wasn't that simple that he was just a dick.
Right?
Because guess what? We don't operate that way. No one I know is just anything.
Yeah.
Really.
Totally.
Like, people have motivations, and if these characters are people, what are their motivations? What's really happening here?
What has happened before?
Yeah.
Yeah. What have we
And
not
what can
been
I
told?
imagine? Because,
What can I imagine?
maybe I'm a storyteller too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, which is really cool.
I mean, or even if, everyone is a storyteller in their own right, but like,
Totally.
everyone has also lived a life.
Yeah. Experience.
Yeah.
Is where stories come from.
Exactly. So if you have any sort of memory or life, then you can find something to relate to. You know?
Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome.
It was
If
delightful.
anybody cancels on you, call me up. Because I'm right down the street and I would love to do this again.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
I'm definitely
Thank you.
we'll start rotating people in. I'm like, we're getting
Well,
a
it's
good
apparently,
number.
I heard it was a really long story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might need to.
We will.
Put me
And
back in the
I'm
relationship.
excited to do that and play with that.
That's super cool.
All right, listeners, thank you.
Thank you.
Have an imaginative day. Thank you for listening to this episode of Not Your Mother's Mahabharat. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss our next episode. My name is Satish Jayaraj, and I am your storyteller and researcher. My wife and co-host is Azure Anderson. Azure also wrote the theme music, she did all the editing and producing, and essentially did all the work to get this podcast to you. Without her, it would just be me swearing ancient stories to friends in our living room. Join us next time for the next installment of Not Your Mother's Mahabharat, and have an imaginative day.